What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Sailor Turn Gamer, and we are back in the building, coming at you with another Dauntless video. Yep, Dauntless just released this Tuesday, and now it is fully out on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, in the Epic Games Store. So if you're finding my channel for the very first time, we create tons of Dauntless content. So this is the main place to be to get the latest in Dauntless, ranging from patch notes, Q&As, build videos, weekly roundups, news and updates, and a whole lot more. With that being said, every single week, usually the developers at Phoenix Labs, they conduct an AMA, Ask Me Anything, and this week is not different than any other. So we had an AMA that was conducted this week on Reddit. They usually post that on their Twitter, but don't worry, I'm here to cover it all. For this week's AMA, we had a couple of developers in the Reddit thread, and we had Hunter Howe, who is the design director. We had Katie D'Souza, who's an art director for the game, and then we had, of course, Ian Turney, which is Crash. He's the associate producer. And lastly, but not least, we have Victoria Watsix. She is the community associate. So they were hanging out in the Reddit thread pretty much all day. I think they closed it around like 5 p.m. And with that, they answered a lot of the questions from the community. So we're here to cover that particular piece of information. There's a lot of good stuff that we're going to talk about. So be sure to kick it here and stay tuned for the latest in Dauntless. And with that being said, let's get into the community Q&A roundup, shall we? Okay, so the very first question that was asked was, do you plan on releasing a roadmap at some point? And well, to that they simply replied with a link to the roadmap. You guys can see that here. It's a pretty dope thing. I will be covering the roadmap very, very soon, so that way you guys can be up to date on the things that are already in the game, of course, but the things that they have coming down the line as well. It's pretty awesome. So we'll be talking about that a lot more in depth later on in further videos. But if you're curious about the roadmap, I will leave a link in the description box below where you guys can check that out and see it. Next question. What has inspired you to create this game? We have a pretty high veteran rate at Phoenix Labs. So most people have been in the industry for at least 10 years. So when we set out to figure out what type of game this was going to be and what type of game we were going to make, we knew that we wanted to make something that would both challenge us and something that we would want to play. When you don't have much on paper or in the engine yet, there is downtime. And when there's downtime, there's gaming. And when you're hanging out with people you respect and enjoy, they bro out. We start pulling together the best pieces of the co-op games we were playing, and the next thing you know, we decided to make the sequel to Pepsi Man. But for copyright reasons, we named it Dauntless instead. Oh, that classic Phoenix Labs humor. Can never get enough for that. Also, guys, I will have a link in the description box below as well to the community Q&A roundup, because if you guys are curious in seeing these questions for yourself, as well as tons of other questions that were asked by the community that they didn't get a chance to answer yet, be sure to check that out as well. Next question. Any plans for more fleshed out islands? We would love to flesh out islands more. From hazards to discoverables to aggressive mobs, the first thing that we're working on are aggressive non-behemoth creatures. You should expect to see them as first part of the upcoming Trials mode, featured hunt, plus leaderboards encounter, and likely soon after populated on islands. Awesome. Speaking of Trials, is something that you can expect to see in the roadmap, and the more information we get on Trials, I'll be covering that. Next question. Will there ever be a hunt that involves more than 4 slayers? I won't lie and say that I haven't fantasized about a 16-player raid equivalent of a Dauntless Behemoth, but it certainly would be a massive development undertaking, and we haven't poked at that hydra just yet. Hopefully, with the community asking those questions, and we know that they've already been thinking about this thing one day, hopefully maybe next year or in the future we can get an update on something like that. I know that if Dauntless had a series of behemoths, or at least one huge behemoth with several mechanics for a 8, 12, or 16 player raid, which would be amazing. I do want to note that the response from the question, they specifically said 16 player raid equivalent of a Dauntless Behemoth, which tells me, of course, they've been thinking about it, but They are aiming high. I would love to see at least 8 to 12 players in a raid or mission style that was something that took 30, 45 or an hour or something like that. I mean, that would be crazy. But hopefully we can get something like that coming down the pipeline one day. If we do, I'll be sure to cover it here. Next question. What new weapons are you working on? Is it more melee oriented or ranged? We have a photo of this fabled weapon on our wall in the Hall of Fame. We've already hard at working on the next weapon and should have more to share soon. With each new weapon, we want to introduce new challenges to master and ask new questions to the player, whether that's a melee, ranged, or something entirely new altogether. Stay tuned to the roadmap for more information. So, hey, maybe we got new weapons coming down the pipeline. I mean, of course, I can see this game having a bevy of weapons because there's so many different ways to play, and the imagination is endless. So, if you guys have any suggestions on new weapons you would love to see in the game, put them in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to talk about them and give my thoughts on those as well. Next question. Any fix coming on being able to cancel a hunt queue? So, you can cancel a queue, but not once we're spooling up a server for your hunt. Usually this step is pretty fast and isn't an issue, but it's seeing a bit of strain right now as we grow a lot very quickly. We're working from server side to hopefully make the inability to cancel a non-issue like it used to be. Thanks for bearing with us. Well, as noted in our previous update for 0.8.0, they did notice that they do want to improve the cancellation process for a hunt queue, and that's something that we can expect in a future patch. So, as always, once we get more information on that, be sure to stay here and we'll cover that as well. Let's move on to the next question. Are there any plans for more narrative content like the opening cinematic? Everyone at the studio loves working on narrative content. We have no firm plans for a new cinematic in the future, but we'd love to be able to tell more stories about the Shattered Isles and to explore different ways that we could deliver that. Next question. Are you guys aware of the color switching bug? Hey there, art person, are you talking about the dye bug? Yep, we're aware. It's a bug that got introduced when we started doing a dye rework overhaul. It should be fixed soon along with much more flexibility to dye more regions of the armor. Yes guys, if you don't know, I have a video on the channel explaining that, but Phoenix Labs plans on increasing and depthening the dye character customization aspects of the game. As of with this patch, it set the foundation for that potential, but soon once that launches, the color switching bug will be fixed in addition to the player base having an overall more in-depth character customization regarding dyes, and I cannot wait for that. It's going to be amazing. Alright, next question. Will there ever be a possibility to lock on to the Behemoths? I haven't heard of any discussions about changing the FOV, but lock on is something that we might experiment with. It's tricky since it's not just locking onto an enemy that's useful like most games. Since focusing on specific parts of the Behemoth is critical to good play, there are some ideas floating around, but nothing we feel confident in as of now. I do recommend hitting L3 fairly regularly in combat though. That will help in camera management a ton. So if you guys don't know, L3 on the controller base, whether you're using a Xbox One controller or a PlayStation 4 controller, if you hit that button on your controller, it will, in a sense, auto-target. It'll turn your camera towards the direction of the Behemoths, and that will help with your aim, especially if you're using something like the repeaters, or if you're using pretty much any weapon in the game and you just want to stay focused. It's something that's very, very useful. I use it a lot. If you don't know, L3 is the way to go. Alright, let's move on to the next question. Could there be a chance we can get pets? We've thought a lot about this, but don't of course have action quite chosen yet. There's a wide range of little mini pets that are fun cosmetic buddies to unlock. Little dudes that go gather stuff for you while you fight. Oh my god, that would be so awesome. All the way to allies that you help in combat. You might start with the first and work towards the last, but maybe a combat ally makes sense as a whole weapon class. Definitely curious what the players will want here, so let us know. Oh my god guys, if you guys have any ideas on types of pets that we could have in the game, do let me know in the description, in the comment section below guys, and I will create a fantastic video around that because I'm curious to know your thoughts. And the more I read that, they started flowing in my mind. I've thought about pets for quite some time, and Imagine having an entire weapon class that's similar to any type of, Beastmaster type class or something would be really, really cool. You already have behemoths in the game. I think like Boreas, I call them Boreas, but any types of behemoths in the game. I think Boreas has like these little dragons that you can call up and that he calls up, and they can attack you when they explode and stuff like that. Like, man, but having the player base as a class for like a Beastmaster or something where you can get like 1 or 2 pets and they can do cool stuff, that would be amazing. Or just having, if we could all get pets in the game that will gather like materials for us, or just cosmetic pets. I mean, those are awesome. I'm excited because to know that they're thinking about it means it's something that we could definitely receive. This game is going to look completely different a year from now, and it's already looked completely different a year ago, so this is amazing. Alright, let's move on to the next question. Why don't you guys make a game mode that has an open world and put behemoths all around the place? I'd love for us to develop a way to just go to an island and hang out there for a bit with your friends. You could gather, bait out behemoths, just mess around, and leave when you're done. A little bit more of a freedom experience, but not sure when we'll tackle that. I think there's a lot of potential there. So, yeah, of course, guys. I mean, when I hear this question, you think of your typical open world type of behemoth situation, something similar to Monster Hunter, but just that type of experience is something that is amazing. I do believe that one day this game will be in that position, but as of now, I believe that there is tons of things that they can continue to do to flesh out the world, flesh out the cinematics, flesh out more characters in the game, bring us a lot closer to feeling more involved in the world and the ecosystem that exists there. But it's something that I can definitely see happening within the game. Not now, but I would imagine that's something that they have on their list to work on to one day be able to do that. And I can see that coming in an update that's possibly, maybe 2 years from now, that could be an update that is something that we could all look forward to and be amazing. So I'm excited with the thought of that, and there's so many ways that they can go down with that, to be able to go to an open world area and hang out with your bros. That'd be fun. And the very last question we are going to talk about today, which is perhaps maybe the biggest thing that is on the mind of the players right now, because I know once the game hit full launch for everything, the servers have been taking a bit of a bump. They have been better. Phoenix Labs is working on making it better, and they post very often on their Twitter account letting us know that they're working really, really hard. So the biggest question that they wanted to tackle was a person asked, can you make more servers? So, regarding that, this is a great question, and I'm going to have to give you a Giga answer, which can be copied and pasted, and so everyone can feel free to help. The short answer is that more servers is a tempting idea, but it probably won't solve any problems. Video game server networking and architecture is complicated and hard. If buying more servers will solve the problem, I promise that we do that in a heartbeat. Here's the best way that I can break that down. Number 1, no 2 online games are the same. The requirements for networking are different and require custom solutions. The more involved and sophisticated the game, the more complicated the solution. Number 2, networking can always get better. There's always room for improvement, optimization, and enhancement, except for Halo 2. That shit was perfect. That's hilarious. Number 3, because there's always room for improvement. The people who focus on networking solutions are always working on improvements, from day 1 up to launch and well after launch. These engineers are working to improve networking conditions. Number 4, because of this, there is a delicate balancing act. How do we get the absolute latest and greatest version of our networking designs to players? Well, it requires constant testing and iteration, which is what we do. Number 5, the closer any game gets to launch, the more we learn about the real world environment will be like. Overestimating or underestimating capacity is false dichotomy in this situation. The reality is much more juggling hundreds, if not thousands of changes, variables that are affected by a dozen different companies and partners. Number 6, so developers make the best possible guess they can, and then they start building. As soon as the game goes live, you start learning about what reality is, then you shift your focus to make your solution match reality. Then reality continues to evolve. This is the life of a network engineer. Having enough boxes or a big enough box for everyone is not usually the problem. The problem to solve is how to get everyone into the right box, and then move them quickly and painlessly between boxes around the world. Toss in our amazingly ambitious crossplay plans, and well, we are hugely flattered by how many people showed up, and we are doing everything we can to get everyone in and playing as quickly as possible. Basically, designing network architecture is a lot like being a baseball outfielder, but you're not allowed to move your feet until the ball is already coming down. If you use your best instincts and make informed, educated decisions, but sometimes you're going to have to hustle after that ball. It's a tough process, but I believe they're going to continue to improve because they've already done massive improvements over the past couple days, and I think it's pretty safe to say that the player base that exists now in the game is the biggest that it's been in quite some time. And not only that, just the influctuation of players that are just loving the game all coming in at once. It was a lot. It's a lot, and I think that they're adjusting on the fly, and I think that they are adjusting at a pretty good pace. They're just doing a great job. So it's only going to get better. So if anybody out there is curious about the server situation, they're letting us know how it works, and I appreciate the candor, and I appreciate them being open and honest about it. So yes, guys, this was the AMA held by Phoenix Labs for this week. I will continue to keep you guys updated on any and everything Dauntless, and we will continue to do these community Q&A roundups whenever they occur, so everyone can stay up to date on the state of the community. If you guys appreciate this video, please be sure to give it a like and a share, and most importantly, join the fleet by hitting that subscribe button. It's going to help us grow, and it's going to keep you active and up to date on the latest in Dauntless. And yes, guys, with that being said, this sailor is going to be out in the open ocean. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.